So welcome, Mike. This is very exciting to our very first guest actually on our podcast. So we are really, really excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, Amelia, Lynn, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be with you.
It's great. It's great. So look, profit first is a relatively new concept to the Irish market, and we're the two first certified profit first professionals here. So we'd really love for you to tell us your story and how Profit First came to be, and let people know, where it all began.
Sure, sure. I guess I consider myself ground zero for Profit First, the starting point. And this goes back to 2008. So just quick backstory on myself. I've been an entrepreneur my entire adult life. Ever since I graduated uni, I was off to do entrepreneurial things and had two exits, sold two companies, made some money. And I thought, my gosh, I'm so talented at this. I was in my early 30s and I'd become a self-made millionaire and just was living on the top of the world. And there is this dangerous situation when there's arrogance, a belief that I'm so superior, and ignorance. Really, I didn't have worldly knowledge. I didn't have entrepreneurial knowledge. I still question how much I have. And that combination became deadly. I became an angel investor. I started investing in different businesses. I was horrible at it. I didn't know what I was doing. I lost everything. And it took me 2 years living an inflated lifestyle and also aimlessly trying to start businesses without any understanding what I was doing. Um, I came home to my family. I'll never forget. It was February 14th, 2008. That's Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, yeah.
Valentine's Day. And I came home and I was sobbing because I was about to tell my wife and my children, I have three kids, that we're going to lose our home, which we lost 30 days later. We're going to lose everything. But I had been lying by omission. I hadn't told them what was going on. And my daughter, she was 9 years old at the time, ran out of the room as I was sobbing and comes running back with a piggy bank. And she goes, I'll never forget. She goes, Daddy, I can support our family. And
Oh,
it gives me
bless.
chills. I'm embarrassed and ashamed, but it became, in retrospect, a wake-up call. Not in the moment. I went through depression, I struggled, but looking back on that moment over months and years, I realized I really didn't understand money or how to manage it. I didn't really understand the finances of a business, and they were too complex for me. So I went through literature, and this goes back to biblical times. There's stories in the Bible about reserving money for intentions to contribute, to give, tithing. There's there's modern books like Think and Grow Rich, or more modern books, and Richest Man in Babylon. There's all these books that talk about how to pay yourself first and using the envelope system, which has been around. I think it's actually of European descent for for centuries. And so I started to use these established systems, but I translated it into how a modern business operates through bank accounts and so forth. Very simple. It worked. And from when I deployed it, which was in 2008, I started, I've been profitable in all my businesses every quarter, every year, ever since, including this most recent quarter.
Wow,
That's my story.
excellent. And I suppose, it is a really simple system, and it's really easy to implement it and to put it into play in businesses. Now, one of the things that I always say to anybody who comes to me for Profit First is, this isn't an overnight get rich quick scheme
Right.
or anything like that. This is a process, and it's baby steps, and it takes time.
Right.
Now, obviously, you've been doing it for over 10 years now at this stage, and you've seen thousands of businesses implement it and go through the process. Now, it's
Yeah.
not always plain sailing, right? And people will not always stick to it, and they'll have difficulties with sticking with the process. What advice or guidance would you give to people who have tried it themselves maybe and
Mm.
a couple of months in just were like, yeah, this isn't working for me. And how do
Yeah.
we bring them back?
And that's sadly the majority of people who go it alone. I think the reason is people, including myself, confuse simple and easy. That they're not the same. It is simple to exercise. but is it easy? And the answer is probably no, it's not. I equate profit first to a gym, and any of us could go on YouTube or read a magazine article and learn a script to follow to exercise. But the discipline of showing up and doing it is hard. The second part is, are you doing it right? You may do something that's in excess of what your body can handle, and you could injure yourself. You may be doing exercise routines that are not appropriate for you at this stage. So there's modifications. Secondly, you may not push yourself enough. You may do it too lightly and not see results and give up on it. Well, Profit First runs the exact same kind of parallel experience in that I've seen businesses do it and they get started and they go often too hard, too fast, and they see the first injury and they say, oh, I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this. I was saying that Profit First doesn't fix your business. It identifies what needs to be fixed within your business. If I want to have a 10 or 15% profit in my business, we're going to start taking that immediately. It's then going to reveal what's wrong in my business. I may be running excessive costs. I may not have appropriate margins. I may be inefficient. I may be overstaffed. I may be understaffed. Like, it's going to start revealing problems. But what I see people do, Amelia and Lynn, is they take that 15% and then they can't pay bills a month later and like, this system's not working. Oh, it's working. You can't afford those bills. Well, back to the kind of gym analogy, the best hire, and I have a trainer for the gym, is a trainer, in my opinion, because she'll make sure you're doing the exercises that are appropriate for your current stage. She will change the exercise as you make progress to ensure that you're always improving yourself. Avoid injury. And talk about accountability. When you're paying someone to do this, you show up. And she's not like, hey, why don't we skip today and go grab some donuts together? No, she's holding me committed to this. So with Profit First, we have Profit First professionals. You're the two Profit First professionals in Ireland offering this. And what you're doing is it's training people, making sure they do it appropriately, make sure they are pushing themselves appropriately, but not too fast, but also not too slow, and adjusting the system as we move along. So if someone, getting back to your original question, if someone's off track and saying, I started this, it doesn't work, it's not the system doesn't work. You're now facing the hard part. The system's simple, but it also is hard. It's going to press some buttons on you. And most people give up. I would argue they should work with a Profit First professional and just go through the experience and let that Profit First professional gauge the pace that we're moving at.
I love that.
What would you say to clients though that have, this feast or famine cycles with their revenue? It's up and down, and that's where the stress comes in, where they're
Yeah.
worrying, about bills, and they don't know, is next month going to be a good one again? What's
Yeah.
the best way to handle that?
First, Lynn, to recognize that if you experience feast and famine, you are normal. Like, that is the typical modulations of a business, particularly small business. Often the owner is the best seller for the organization, the best salesperson. They're also the best implementer. So they get this flip-flop going on. They go out and they sell the big deal, but now someone's got to deliver on it. Well, they often orient themselves there. While they're doing the work, they're not selling. So that's a natural tendency. There is, though, a kind of law of averages that's running through the business. So when you have a particularly great month or season, or some seasonal businesses, the instinctual feeling is, oh, business is really kicking butt right now. We're doing so well. But the logical answer is you're just having a hyper state of income, an increased state of income, but that needs to pay for all of the slow times that are inevitably coming because we have it predictable. We will often, there's a technique within Profit First, we call it the drip account. There's a way to reserve inflated income during a period of time, save it into another account, and then redistribute that as income over the year. So I'll give an extreme example. Here, where I live in New Jersey, right outside of New York City, in the winter time, like it is now, we get serious snowstorms. And there are some businesses that plow snow. That's what they do. They clear sidewalks and driveways. And I talk to the owners of these businesses, like, my gosh, December, January, February is amazing. But starting in the spring, by April, there is no business to be had all the way until next December. And they go into this feast or famine mode. They're living large in the winter, and then they're like, what's going on with business? Well, the analogy I use is an extreme circumstance. Pretend you made all your money in 1 month. And just for easy number's sake, let's say it's 12,000 that you make during 1 month, and you make nothing else during the other month. We will take that 12,000 and we'll make it into 12 slices to cover the entirety of the year. So while the money came in all this month, it needs to cover us 1,000 per month for the entirety of the year, and we've now normalized the business. Now, it never works that perfectly, and that's why you need a profit first professional. There's tweaking to the system, but effectively, methodically, that's how we use it. We slice up high level income to address when there's low periods.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of, you know, the having the system in place and going through it, and you know, being either on your own or with a profit first professional, and getting to the other side, if you like, and you know, you've been doing it for a while, and you know, you've seen obviously lots of success with this, with businesses that you've worked with and from other PFPs around the world who have done work with other clients. What's the other side? What does it look like for business owners who get to that point?
So we estimate that there's 1.1 million companies globally that have deployed profit first under the tutelage of a profit first professional or have gone it alone. No question, people that get professional guidance get better results faster every single time. It's unequivocal. But what we found is people that have deployed it, even if it's on their own and stuck with it, the results somewhat are surprising. One is, well, this is not surprising, is the level of sanity that people have, because you start affording yourselves runway. When you log into your bank account, which is the most common behavior of business owners, is to log into your bank account every week, every day, multiple times a day to see their balance. It's kind of like going on your favorite social media and scrolling through it. There is a dopamine hit, or there's a fear trigger. And when those accounts are low, it's a shock. And so for your mental health, when there ain't money, it's scary. So what we see with profit first implementers, like people, you know, businesses that have done it, is when they log in, they continue that behavior of logging in multiple times a day. They see there's actually runway, there's cash there, there's this piece. So there's no question that there is a sense of greater sanity when people are sustainably, consistently profitable. We see then a behavior shift in how they execute their business. They are much more methodical. There's a saying I've heard that desperate people do desperate things. And when a business owner in a desperate state and there's no money in the bank account, there's reactions like, we just need to run a sale, 50% off. We need to do collection calls. It's all these reactionary moves and not methodical. So people that deploy profit first often look at their business and say, hey, we have time. Let's think through this. What is the best move for our business? And they start moving their business forward. But the third and kind of final highlight that comes to mind is I never expected this. I invite people to email me when they're doing profit first. I mentioned in my book, I encourage profit first professionals to tell me how their clients are doing and email me because I love to hear the stories. When I wrote the book, what I anticipated was the biggest surge of emails I would get or celebrations is when it came to quarterly profit distributions. The quarter is ended. I just took home 5,000 or 10,000, whatever it is, or 500, it doesn't matter. I took home something I've never taken home before. And I do get those emails. But the more frequent emails I get is when tax time rolls around. It's bizarre. I get all these emails saying, my business has paid all my taxes or reserved all my taxes for me and reimbursed me for it for the first time in my life. And I never expected to get that until I understood this concept called loss aversion. It's a human behavior that when we possess something and then it's taken from us, we feel greater pain than if it was never given to us in the first place. So if you and I were hanging out and I said, hey, here's 50 euros. It was just fun to spend time with you both. Here's 50 euros. It'd be very awkward that I do that, but you say, oh, okay, I just got 50 euros. Conversely, if I said, hey, it was great hanging out with you, here's 50 euros. Oh, and by the way, give me 20 of those euros back. Now it becomes really weird. I gave you money and then I'm taking it from you. It becomes more weird, even though I'm giving you net 30 euros. It becomes more weird because there's loss aversion. I've taken something back that you had possession of. Well, with taxes, we get our salary, our pay, our draws from our company, but and I've yet to meet any government anywhere in this world where it doesn't stick its long hand into our business and pull money out. Even though we've earned it, the government comes in and takes a chunk of that money. But when we set aside the exact same amount of money first and never account for it in the operations of our business, it's just set aside and the business has that money taken by the government, it doesn't feel nearly as painful. And that's because of loss aversion. That was one of the most surprising things I get about Profit First.
I think my
Yeah.
clients would relate to that. I think the biggest problem that I saw and could see Profit First being the solution was every second month when the VAT is due and the balance of the bank account goes down by
That's right.
50K. It's like you really need to have different set up the Profit First bank account so that this doesn't happen because they just couldn't get it into their head that that money is not theirs. And
Yes.
like that, checking the bank account every day and wow, 300 grand. And then the next day, oh no, there's only 250. Now what do I do? Ring Lynn and what's after happening and why have revenue taken that away? And then I have to explain again, this is why we need to set a profit first. And that's what we did. And it eliminates that problem. So yeah, I can see how that
That's
it's the start
exactly.
of it. It's just a simple change,
Yeah, what I tell people when it comes to VAT is that you are an agent for the government. You may have
Yeah.
not volunteered this, but the government said you have a responsibility to collect a tax on our behalf, called VAT, every time there's a transaction. So if I charge €1 and the VAT tax on top of that, I'm just going to say is 10% for easy sense. That extra 10% that I'm collecting is not earned income. The government requires me to do this. And I'm collecting on their behalf and storing it to give it to them. And it's just a very hard concept to see because the money comes into our hands. And when we see it in our hands, virtually or otherwise, even temporarily, like this is my possession when it's not. So don't let it touch your hands, divert it, realize you're an agent for the government, and it's a lot more easy to digest.
It's amazing the amount of businesses that rely on that money and use that money as if it is their own, and it's really not a good plan
Yeah.
for them.
No, oh, that'll burn you. I've never met a government either that doesn't enforce the collection of the tax ever.
Absolutely. So you've a new book coming out this month, which kind of enhances Profit First in a personal. So Profit First is focused for businesses. The Money Habit is focused more on personal finances, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of how they play together and what it's all about, your new book?
The shocker, I have it here readily available to market myself but yeah, it is the money habit. How this came about, Amelia, is I always knew that in my own businesses, excuse me, that the health of my business financially was in direct correlation to my personal finances. And what I mean is, if I was doing well personally, saved money for my future and so forth, but my business struggled, it was only a matter of time before it started to eat my personal finances. And the reverse is true too. I've had businesses that have done well where my personal finances were struggling. And since the business started to take off, my personal finances ate into it. I started to live a much larger life much quicker. So these things run in concert. The bottom line is you need to be fiscally healthy in both your home and your business. And that's why I knew this book was inevitable. But what the trigger was something I didn't expect. I got a call from a business that had deployed Profit First to great success. They install garage doors. And the owner called me, and this is now back 3, 4 years ago, and said, hey, I would like to get a personal version of this. And the reason I want a personal version of Profit First is that my employees are also struggling with finances. And this is ubiquitous. You can be anywhere in the world. You can be of any income level. The majority of people struggle with finances. It's almost irrespective of what you make, because as we make more, if we don't have control over it, we will spend more. So you can make millions and you think that's going to be your salvation. But if you don't know how to control the money you have currently, making millions actually amplifies that problem. So he said, my employees, they make a range of salaries, but he says that many of them are struggling financially, and it becomes this form of quiet desperation. It's not like they come into work and say, "I need more. I can't put food on the table," but that's what they're thinking about, and they're distracted from work. So he said, "I want to support my team." And so I'm like, "Oh, how many employees do you have?" I think, 5 or 6 people. He goes, "No, it's actually 900. 900. So it's a nationwide garage door installer, and
Yeah.
they wanted to educate 900 people. And that's when I realized, wow, this problem with finances is something the entrepreneur needs to solve for themselves. We need to nail it in our business, and we need to nail it in our home. But it's also something the entrepreneur can do to serve their team, their employees. And when they do that, and the employees start taking control over their money, that they start alleviating the worry of that they're carrying with them, and they can start focusing more on work. So for the employer, selfishly, it benefits them from having a team that doesn't worry about finances. The other thing I realized too is most people that struggle with money, and I've struggled with money for a long time, feel the solution is making more. So we'll go to our employer and say, "Hey, can you pay me more? Can I get a raise?" Um, but like I said, if you don't have control or authority over your money, it doesn't matter how much you make. What the money habit does is it uses the principles of profit first plus other things, because this works for anyone who has a predictable income or volatile income. So it works for entrepreneurs who have generally more volatile income because of their business, but works for employees who are on a salary or some kind of predictable hourly wage. And what it does is it will give them or help them achieve financial independence. So the last thing I want to share about this is there's a lot to talk about financial freedom, and the definition loosely is to do what you want when you want without any concern for financial consequence. So if I want to go to Mallorca by jet, my own private jet tomorrow, I can do that. That's financial freedom, and it doesn't cost me. This book is not about financial freedom. That is the get rich. This is about financial independence. And the difference is in financial independence, it's irrespective of the money you make, money doesn't control you, you control it. It's working with what you have available. So irrespective of your income, how can you make a go of this and have total confidence and control? How can you log into your bank account, regardless of how much you make, and not feel that worry of what is this money intended for? Can I get by today? And once you have financial independence, control over your money, then as your income increases, if that's what you so desire and achieve, you are in a position to benefit from it because you've set the controls in place at your current state.
Love that. Isn't that the dream for everybody?
I think so. That was always the dream for myself.
Mm.
And the main thing I didn't share necessarily with Profit First when I wrote it is I deployed that exact same system, Profit First, in my business, in my home, the exact same time. And it's been transformative in the financial life for myself and my family. Many people manage their monies as partners. So if you have a partner in life, one person may be historically the money manager for the house and the other person isn't. And what happened in our home, at least, I was the one managing the money. I still do oversee the money. It became almost like a parent-child relationship with my partner, which is a very awkward thing. She would come to me and say, "Hey, I like to go out with my friends today. Can I do that?" And I'm like, "No, you can't. There's not enough money in the accounts." And I felt like this kind of parent. And other times she'd say, "Hey, can I do X, Y, Z?" And say, "Oh yeah, you can." It's like I'm giving her a lollipop because there's enough money. But she was always in the dark, and I always felt like I was asserting this weird authority. It was gross, and it could cause conflict. Well, with the money habit, you set up accounts at your bank with intended use, so there's absolute clarity when you log in. My partner or myself, either is logged into our bank account. We know exactly how much money is available for what purpose. And it's funny, like we like to go out to, there's a particular restaurant in town, and it's an expensive restaurant, so we don't go too often. But we know exactly what's in. I'll show you. I think I have it on me. We have debit cards. In the US, we have customized ones, but
Wow.
not for a debit card with the word meals on it. This is our meal card. So we both have access to the account. And if we want to go, the restaurant's called Roots. If we want to go to Roots, you just look at the account. Is there enough money in there to afford it? And recently I told my wife, "Hey, we haven't gone to Roots in a couple of months. We got to get out to our favorite place." And she said, "Oh, I went to the account, not enough money. Let's put it off one more month." No conflict, No argument. The system says you can or can't, but you're always working within your means.
I love that. We
That's
need to get those
brilliant.
cards in Ireland
Yeah, I know.
too.
Aren't they
They're
cool?
amazing.
Yeah, they're really good.
I got to show you one other one because it's just hysterical. I was showing someone. So this isn't one of my original ones. I still have it. You can see how worn it is. It says the word wants on it, but the
Wow.
card is so beaten up. Someone said, "Oh, clearly, Mike, you have a lot of wants in your life."
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so.
brilliant.
Excellent. Well, look, Mike, we are really, really grateful that you have spent time today with us on the Profit Without Panic podcast. Um, just before you go, I'd love to ask, when are you going to come and visit Ireland and maybe do a little business event or something with us?
Oh my God, I would love to do it. I know I'm coming. There's negotiations right now to come to England. And my gosh, I think I could swim over to Ireland. Uh,
The
so
plane, you're literally up and back down. It takes
I know
like
I did the flight. I
45
was in
minutes.
Dublin last year, and then I had to go to London, and the plane didn't even crash. I mean, it did crash, obviously, but it didn't level. It just he was up, and then we were back down. I'm like, what? I thought we didn't even leave Dublin's airport.
Oh,
No,
Um,
that's me messing and putting you on the spot there now, but we would
no,
love
so
to see you in
I'd be honored to
Ireland.
come out there. I'm interested and want to, and we just need to find a community of people that want to gather and do this. So let's set the intentions to the universe for it to be 2026 because I'm going to be in Europe and England specifically. I also want to share just how proud I am of the two of you for representing Profit First and taking a risk. Anything that's new to any community is odd or weird, and you need to be an advocate for it, but you also need to fight the resistances. This is not how we do things in Ireland, and are you crazy? And then when you have success, you need to encourage those people to spread the word, but they're afraid because they're the first ones to do it. It's hard. It's hard to get the word out. But I just want to tell you, as your brothers and sisters here in the U.S., I'm proud of you guys of what you're doing and getting the word out. And it's just a matter of time before there is this shift in awareness and more people take this. I believe Irish entrepreneurs need to be profitable. I believe US entrepreneurs, I think actually believe every entrepreneur on the globe needs to be profitable because this eradicates so many of the challenges that we face. It brings fiscal health, which then triggers so much other forms of mental health and so forth for everybody. So if you're an Irish entrepreneur, God's sake, this is the request. Be permanently profitable. We need it.
thank you so much, Mike. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amelia.